Welcome to A Closer Look. I'm your host, Linda Fontaine. Today, my guest is Tina Johnson. She's the director of Safe House. Thank you for joining us today, Tina.
Thank you for having me.
Now, this month is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And so you are the director of Safe House, and this all ties in. For those that don't know, describe to us, tell us what Safe House is.
Sure. Safe House is a domestic violence shelter for victims of domestic violence and their children. That can be men, women, men or women. And they come to our shelter to seek safety. They're fleeing abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. And they can stay at the shelter while we help them become safe. That might mean, getting an order of protection or just whatever they need to be able to be safe. It also, if we have non-shelter people in our program, and that includes therapy, advocacy, and legal assistance.
Wow, you guys offer a lot. Now, Safe House is truly just what the word means. It's a safe house. In other words, nobody knows where it's at. You guys have a secret location to keep victims of violence safe, right?
Correct. We have a shelter in Kingsport and in Johnson City.
Now, how does someone find out how to get a hold of you? If it's secret, they can't just show up. They have to call 911 or...
That's a great question. If it's a secret, how do people find us? So they can find us through law enforcement and be brought to the shelter, or they can call our hotline at any time, and we can make arrangements to get them in.
All right. So the number is 423-926-7233. That is your hotline.
Correct.
And then there's many other numbers for sexual assault hotline. There's a family justice center hotline and a branch house hotline. And I imagine if you go to frontierhealth.org, you can find all those numbers there, right?
Correct.
So that's your website, frontierhealth.org, and you can go to the link, which is Safe House, and get more information. And you have a Facebook page too, Frontier Health Safe House as well.
Yes.
That you can. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about how long have you guys been in business? How many victims of abuse do you serve, and what do you do to help these victims?
Okay, so we've been there for over 30 years, the shelter in Kingsport.
Yes.
I've been there for about 20. So, and the shelter in Johnson City has been around for a while. We took it over a couple of years ago. Some of the services at the shelter include legal help, help getting an order of protection, just basic needs. When you come in, typically clients come in with just the clothes on their back.
Right.
So we have to supply them with anything they might need, such as hygiene items, clothing, just the basics, food. And then while they're there, we work on kind of building their self-esteem, helping them get in a mindset where they know that they don't deserve to be treated the way they have.
Yes.
And that involves therapy. So we want to give every client coming in the opportunity to see our therapist and work with them to try to get over some of the emotional damage that they've experienced.
So when you say legal help, do you have attorneys that are volunteering their time, that sort of thing, or the social workers that let them know, hey, you don't have to stay in this situation, there's ways for you to get out?
So we can help them. Our staff is able to help them obtain an order of protection at the courthouse and then go to court with them. That's a very intimidating process. You have to face your abuser in court, and that can be really hard for a victim who's just left. And then we work with Legal Aid of East Tennessee, and they represent our victims when needed.
That's wonderful, because I know so many times, and I was telling you before we started that I used to work at a spouse abuse crisis center and rape spouse abuse crisis center years ago when I was working on my counseling degree. And it is amazing the mindset that people get in when they are being abused, where they feel they just can't leave. They literally think they can't leave. They're so scared.
Absolutely, and we know that the initial 2 weeks after a victim leaves their perpetrator is the most dangerous. They're most likely to be killed during that time. So they are not only dealing with the emotional trauma and all of that, they're also worried about their safety for when they do leave.
Do you find during COVID, has this been better or worse as far as victims? Have you had more or less, or has it affected it at all?
So we looked for some trends with COVID, and we expected a lot of hotline calls right in the beginning. Suddenly these two people who already have a really violent relationship and arguments and things like that are in a home together probably more hours in a day, and children are home from school.
Yes.
Money is tight. So there's a lot of stressors that are contributing to the violence and making it worse. And then as time progressed, our hotline calls did increase and people did start coming into the shelter more. But then it was a balance of, were they safe in a shelter environment as far as the virus, or you know, so if their children had special health problems or anything like that and they were concerned about living in a group environment, that was an additional barrier. So during COVID we opened transitional housing units, and they are 3 fully furnished apartments, and for anyone with special health concerns or COVID, they could move into one of those units and not live in a communal living environment and still be safe from their abuser.
Okay, so that brought another question a lot of people may have. So if I was being abused and I had children though, so people might think, well, I can't leave because of the children. You take not only the victim, you take the children as well, right?
Absolutely, and we're a very child-friendly environment. We keep it cheerful and bright and happy. Toys and lots of activities for kids. We know that they've just gone through a lot of trauma, and we try to make home there as nice and peaceful as possible.
Now, you mentioned this earlier, but to be clear, it's not just for women, it's for men too, and they get abused just as much, and young women and young men.
Absolutely, and men sometimes have a harder time coming forward. There's a lot of shame associated with domestic violence, and that just increases for men. Society tells them they should be able to handle it, and they shouldn't let a woman tell them what to do or hurt them and that kind of thing. It's really hard for a man to step forward and say, I need help. And we applaud his decision to not become violent back and to want to leave that abuse. So we serve both men and women equally.
And you will take donations, won't you?
Yes. So things we need most are household items. Because we help all of our victims, if they would like, we help them move out into their own place, and they're basically starting with nothing. So we move a lot of people into empty apartments, and household items are a definite need. Towels, blankets, cookware, that kind of thing. And then clothing comes and goes. We have a good supply at the moment, but those are things that we need at different times. And then hygiene items and paper products, and those are for our clients that are in the shelter, and then clients who move out. We want to be able to provide anything they might need once they're out on their own. We don't want them to have to go back to the abuser and back to that abusive situation for anything. So, if they run short on groceries or just need laundry detergent or toilet paper, basic necessities, we want them to be able to come to us and ask for those things and not have to go back to the abuser.
So again, since you are a secret location, how would somebody get these items to you?
Yes, good question. So they would call our hotline, and then we could make arrangements to meet them in a public location, parking lot, whatever's convenient for them. They can drop them off at United Way helps us out, and they can drop off items at their office and we'll go pick them up. And also our Family Justice Center, Branch House and Washington County Family Justice Center.
And when I was in this club, when I was president of the Kingsport Medical Alliance, we used to have meetings monthly, and we would have people bring things to the meetings, like when you go to a hotel, little shampoos and cream rinse and hygiene items or anything like that. And then at the end of the year, we would donate them to Safe House.
Yes.
So organizations can get together and do this sort of thing too, which would probably be very helpful, and you can get a whole bunch of stuff at one time. Now let me touch on something here. It is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month.
Yes.
So are y'all doing anything extra special for that?
So we're doing a social media campaign. With COVID, that's affected everything. We're not able to do all the activities that we normally do, but we're doing just a social media campaign to get the word out. What you can do as a parent to protect your child and be involved and kind of look for those signs that they may be experiencing dating violence. And then for young adults and adolescents, what they can do to look for those red flags for a violent relationship, and then also those green flags that tell us this is a healthy, good relationship.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so again, if people want to get in touch with you to find out more information, they can go to frontierhealth.org, right? Is that
Correct.
right? Make sure I'm getting this right. Frontierhealth.org. And the domestic violence hotline, 423-926-7233.
Yes.
We have the sexual assault hotline, which is 423-306-5169. The Family Justice Center number, 423-722-3720. And what is that exactly, the Family Justice Center?
So the Family Justice Center is where maybe someone is experiencing domestic violence or sexual violence and they're not sure what to do. It's a one-stop shop. They can go into the office and work with a navigator and find out, let them know what they're experiencing, and then we can let them know all of the services: therapy, advocacy, orders of protection, shelter. It's a huge step to even pick up the phone and call the hotline for a victim. So if they can pick up the phone and call or walk into Family Justice Center and just let us know what you're experiencing, then we can give you an array of different services, and you get to choose how many or few of those that you want.
And the hotline is so important. Like I said before, when I worked in college and I worked on a hotline, sometimes someone just needs someone to talk to know it's okay to call and to get help.
Yes,
and
a
again,
non-judgmental person to answer that phone, and somebody who's not going to blame them or victim shame them.
That's exactly right, non-judgmental.
Yes.
That's key.
Absolutely.
And the branch house number, 423-574-7233. Frontier Health Domestic Violence Hotline, 423-926-7233. Facebook page, Frontier Health, Safe House, and also just go to frontierhealth.org. Go to the link Safe House to get all the information you may need if someone is feeling they are in danger and needs help. Tina, thank you so much for joining us today. You had a lot of information for a very important subject.
Thank you
for
having
joining us, and we will be back with another edition of A Closer Look.